Today's episode includes tips around working with your spouse or partner, which I do. Here at Recruiting from Riderflex, my wife, my beautiful wife, Kim, now works with us. She's been working at the firm now for over a year. So now I feel like I can really speak on this topic and give you some tips around working with your partner and tips around working with your partner from home if you both work from home or you both work in the same building or the same office. Here are some tips. Number one, if you work in the same building or the same home, definitely get your own rooms. Don't sit in the same room with the other person. Give yourself a break. My wife and I have actually tried to work together from our travel trailer on the road because we could both work remotely. That requires us to sit across from each other at a table all day long and stare at each other super close together. That will wear on your nerves. I don't care how much you love the person. So I recommend if you work with your partner to have separate offices and separate rooms. That's number one. Number two, make sure that during your lunch break and when work stops, that you talk about something else. Try really hard to not talk about work. When my wife and I stop for lunch, and she works from home and so do I, when we stop for lunch, we try to take a few moments to just talk about other things besides Riderflex. Same thing. When we stop for the day, she's getting ready to start dinner, whatever. I'm doing some stuff. I'm outside, house chores. We don't keep talking about Riderflex unless something major came up. We try to really talk about the kids or family or whatever. So that my second point is try not to just talk about work all the time. Really cap yourself on that when the day is over. Number three, when you're on meetings like team meetings or team events and your spouse is in the room, it can be challenging to treat them like a colleague or an employee instead of your spouse. I find it very challenging not to, for example, say to Kim, sweetheart and babe and honey and all the things I call her, like during a meeting. Like I have to consciously try and switch that, which I'm still getting better at it. I'm not perfect at that. So I try to speak to her as a colleague, as a coworker, especially in front of other employees or other team members, instead of talking to her like I talk to her at night or in the mornings. That's hard, but I recommend it because if you don't do that well, it gets weird for everybody else. It's not really weird for you, but it's kind of weird for everybody else, right? So I try to do it out of respect for all of the other workers. And then last but not least on this set of tips is this. If one of you kind of reports to the other one on the org chart, kind of, like let's say you have a family business and the wife is the CEO and the husband is, I don't know, VP of sales, whatever. Try your best to have, in that particular case, I would have the husband roll up to somebody else or kind of officially report to somebody else. If they report directly to their husband or their spouse on the org chart, that is hard, right? Like, I wouldn't want my wife writing my performance review. That would be weird. For example, here at Riderflex, Kim actually kind of rolls up to somebody else on the org chart. Now, I am officially the CEO, so I guess I always have the ultimate say, so to speak. Well, actually, my wife kind of has the ultimate say because I'll say something as the CEO during a meeting, and then later that night she'll be like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." Yeah. What was my point? Oh, I got off track there. My point was, try to have them roll to somebody else on the org chart. It's just easier. It's easier. It is true, though. I'm the CEO of Riderflex, but I don't even know what my wife's title is. My wife's title is whatever she wants it to be. That's funny. It brings up a whole nother funny story. I could do a whole nother episode on that. I actually had an employee tell me one time, like, hey, well, Kim is this or that, or she's here or there with roles and responsibilities, or she's at this level. And I was like, yeah, you're right. She is listed that way on the org chart, but she is an owner, a primary equity holder and owner in the company. So that kind of like trumps everything else. Anyway, I just threw that in for fun. There is your Riderflex tip of the day.